So, new developments in the Rekeita saga, so to speak. To actually make a stream on this seems very boring and redundant, but to make digestible content in the forms of uploads seems like a prime way to go. And to just give another point of view, right? A more, some people call it a more pro Rekeita point of view. It's okay, I believe. It's keeps things fresh. Otherwise things just get redundant and so you can't really even tell the difference, really. But also, it offers a chance for you, the viewer, to give your 2 cents on the situation. And, the last few Rekieta W videos, I've actually had some pretty interesting comments, not ones that just say contrarian this, contrarian that, or the same repetitive stuff that we would see on a negative Rekieta video. And I think that's just well. So, again, if you're new to the channel, leave a comment and let me know what you think about this rare Rekieta W. And this rare Rekieta W, well, it's a little divisive because it also depends on how you look at it. Some people are going to say that this is a win for the nose. Some people that are a little more edgy, let's say, should just call Aaron, like a puss or something, a cat or something, like a pussy. All right, they would originally, but again, I'm not really sure how the principles of the internet go, especially with this slop over here, like this train wreck of I don't even want to call it a community. It's just whoever's invested in this saga, seems to have very skewed morality, and I guess it would make sense because it is the one and only trad dad Nick Rekieta. Questionable character in the form of morality indeed, but recently Aaron Imholte decided to go ahead and, well, he made some weird threats. So he made a weird kind of, what it seems like sort of a threat, sort of not. It was weird. It was like a more passive Nick Rekieta rant moment, sort of. It's just bizarre in nature. I just don't understand what the point of this was. He went on for 2 minutes, right? But Rekeita ended up getting this, right? And it appears to be a restraining order of sorts or whatever, seemingly from Aaron. So Rekeita went ahead and says, I will give $1,000 to the first person to give me a video compilation of one public mention of me per day by any Imholte since April 11, 2024. I disclaim and condemn any comments or chats to any Imholtes on any social media platform. What an epiphany. So Rekeita kind of putting on what I like to say, the bounty on the toe, okay? So Rekeita says the video compilation must include a clip or a screenshot, a date. So basically Rekeita is kind of putting a bounty on the nose, and he's essentially telling some people, whether they're farmers, whether they're just archivers, to go ahead and find compilations of Aaron mentioning Rekeita anywhere. And, to be honest, if we are going to call it down the middle, yeah, Aaron's entire presence thus far has been mentioning Nick Rekieta on a regular, in a negative light, trying to get those Kiwi Farms points, trying to get those good boy points, and ultimately tried to elevate his career, but it didn't seem to have worked. In fact, it just didn't work so much that the Kiwi farmers ended up turning on Aaron Imholte by the end of it. So again, it's not a very good look when you are turned against by the people you try to propel and act as if they're cool. At least Nick Rekieta got a good 9 years out of their support until they finally said, okay, this guy is a blundering idiot and we can't hide it anymore. So anyway, Rekeita and people just converse here, and, Rekeita's saying some really weird, gnarly shit now, but, that's part of his new gimmick, apparently. Rekeita also said in regards to this, and this was on June 27, so we were like a few days behind, but he says, I retained someone to assist me with this, thanks to all who reached out. So Rekeita, quoting, you have nothing to threaten me with. He's talking about what Aaron said in this, so Aaron in this came up very anxiety-ridden, very weird, very strange demeanor. He sounded very anxious about the entire situation. He tried to come off, I guess, as like a villain or like somebody cool, but he just kind of came off as a clown. He says, "You have nothing to threaten me with, Nick." And then he made like a kind of like saying that Nick should off himself kind of thing, which it's like, okay, kind of fell a little flat, I guess, because it's coming from Aaron. Didn't have that oomph to it, you know. Then Rekeita says, "I can't imagine a less ambiguous statement than that the filed restraining order is a lie to the court." This person says, "This is Aaron right before the Kiki interview flop. Who's harassing who? Who's wishing things on who? And who's seething?" So you got a nice, interesting little clip. You know, people are still watching this guy in order to archive incriminating things about him. Rekeita says, "I want to live with people busting his balls and harassing him about something he legitimately didn't do. This is not a good statement for the restraining order petition." So apparently he's quoting what Aaron said as well, which is very strange for Aaron to fucking say this again. Like, I mean, I can kind of see why Kiwi Farms got off that sinking ship real quick. I don't know who else is going to follow along with this, but it's definitely not looking like a win for the toe. It's looking like he's just self-destructing at this point, but I wonder who's going to come in and save him. I don't think it's going to be Kiwi Farms. I don't think it's going to be LawTube. I watched Potentially Criminal try to downplay and try to make, for some reason, I'm assuming it's because he and Aaron are friends, make Aaron look like the least worse in this situation. And then I watched a null Joshua Connor Moon actually rip into Aaron objectively, which was like fucking hilarious. The one thing that's hilarious was the difference, the night and day difference between Potentially Criminal trying to downplay Aaron being an idiot and Josh Moon just tearing into Aaron for being an idiot, right? It's not even that Potentially Criminal was being professional. He just literally tried to downplay everything. I mean, what the fuck? I just don't even understand why you would try to downplay Aaron being a tard. But Josh Moon, to his credit, you know, the guy might contradict himself a bit about Shotokan. You know, he hates it. He's anti-VTuber, anti-anything Gator likes. But, you know, when it comes to Pipkin Pippa, he'll bow down and kiss the ring. But at the same time, he went in on Aaron, I guess, because he has no real affiliation. He's not his friend. Really, he doesn't have a veiled interest in being cool with Aaron the way he did Nick Rekieta at one point. But, you know, that's very nice. Rekeita goes on to say on June 28, which is the following day, "If you aren't a Locals or YouTube member right now, we're about to have an absolutely delightful watch party. Are you going to be there? To be clear, this is a paywalled watch party." So I guess that's Rekeita's way of saying that he will probably strike you if you re-upload this content, though I'm not really sure. I'm sure some people are going to re-upload it regardless and just not really care, and you can probably see it. I'm just assuming that Rekeita is trying to say that. Otherwise, why would he put it in a paywalled watch party or whatever, right? Maybe that's what I'm assuming. I mean, he could just mean like, oh, hurry up and like become a member so you get access to this. But the last thing Rekeita did, at least on main posts, he went ahead and reposted this person, and it said, "If I were to compile a clip of Rekieta Law being mentioned on Aaron Imholte's show, let's just say the clip would be easily around 20 hours long, possibly more. I'd say the word Nick, Rekeita, or rackets was mentioned upwards of 40,000 times. The level of obsession is actually mind-blowing. It really is, and see what Rekeita is going in here, and we're actually like asking Grok about the situation now too. Everybody knows Grok. Everybody loves Grok, the world's most base search engine, or AI or whatever, you know, designed by Cheeselon Musk. So we got Harley Quinn James here saying, "Oh my god, the Daily Mail. He's internationally renowned. Disgraced podcaster arrested after nude photo scandal." And this is made by the dailymail.com.uk. So this person says, "Grok, is Aaron Imholte a terrible person?" To which Grok says, "Aaron Imholte's actions, including sharing a nude photo without consent and violating court orders, are widely criticized as unethical and harmful." And that's kind of the thing. Let's just address this point first and foremost, and what I meant by the freaking potentially criminal downplaying of the entire thing. It almost seems like everybody, including Kiwi Farms, is like a Kiwi Farms potentially criminal kind of problem, and, you know, anti-Rekeita essentially. You want to hold such ethical levels for certain people, and I knew, like, to trivialize it or to surface level it, you guys would bitch if Rekieta did this. You would bitch about anybody else, literally anybody else doing this that you hated, mostly Rekieta. You would be in a tizzy about. You would make content about it. You would try to portray him as the evil person that would do it. And even if you guys thought like, oh, it's just an offense like jaywalk, like Kiwi, let me tell you something from people that aren't aware. Kiwi farms are the types of people that will see like let's say jaywalking or whatever and treat it like an egregious crime if they don't like you. They will literally they will conceal details of what you did. They'll just be like, "Oh, did you know he committed a crime?" And they won't tell you what it is, even if it's just like jaywalking or something like that. They'll literally hide the details in order to make you look worse than you actually are. It's fucked up. It's typical propaganda bullshit. But it is what it is, and it's effective. And I think the reason people don't really mind it being done to Nick so much is because Rekeita has done this like multiple times throughout his career in front of literally everybody, an entire audience, right? And it seems to be the only defense for Nick is that he had like he was a nice, charming guy, which is always what you want to hear from the audience. It's always the best sign of times, especially in this day and age, when somebody can get away with being a piece of shit just because they're nice, charming people. You gotta love it, man. It gives me so much hope for the future. Rekeita, or Rekeita, let's just call it Rekeita, okay? Rekeita continues, and it says, the history of offensive comments like body shaming a radio host in 2020 suggests a pattern of disregard for others. Public sentiment based on news and online discussion leans heavily negative with no notable defenses. However, labeling someone a terrible person is subjective and complex. While his behavior has caused harm, personal change is possible. Though not evident here, you decide on these facts. So essentially, Grok saying, yeah, he's kind of an asshole, and fucking, Rekeita chimes in and said, but Grok, how would you feel about this if you had eaten breakfast? So Rekeita having fun with this stupid shit. He says, I'm an AI, so I don't eat breakfast or have feelings, but I can analyze the situation objectively. Aaron Imholte's action sharing nudes without consent are widely criticized as unethical and illegal, causing harm as shown by legal consequences and victim reports. Some argue his content was pride, not malice, but the majority view and legal. Man, if only Destiny got that. That's like, imagine. This is a literal Destiny situation. Imagine if Destiny got this fucking charitability from people. Breakfast wouldn't change the facts his behavior was harmful and justly condemned. Like, again, it's like one of those things where, like, bruh, like, Aaron just literally pulled a Destiny, right? And like Destiny got fucking destroyed for this. Like, this practically destroyed his career to an extent. At least did massive fucking damage to him. But again, it's like I've told you time and time again, when it's like a nobody that you really don't care about, right? To that extent, right? It belonged to a niche, but they're not him, right? They're not him like a Rekeita was, like a Destiny was. Your actions, even though they're like the same as the bigger superstars, are gonna be looked at as like, well, we can just disregard that. And it's like, brother, okay. That's like, that's the internet for you, buddy. That's the internet. But overall, I'm gonna label this a win for Rekeita, all right? Because Aaron seems like he's not trying to be the edgy Kiwi farmer anymore, being based and cool and, just casually telling Rekeita to just relapse and, like, essentially die. But, like, he's now taking a Weasley out. Like, he's trying to use that was like the law. He's trying to use the law to his side and stuff, which is, like, sort of questionable at this point in time. That's like Rekeita. I mean, it goes back to what I initially said. These people both fucking suck, right? And nobody's refuted the claim that Aaron literally went to the crack den of house endangerment and did not give a shit. He did not give a fuck that Rekeita was endangering his kids. He did not. I'll get you one step further. Aaron brought his children into the crack den. So again, this charitability for Aaron should be a no-go. It should not be overlooked, right? What Aaron did should not be overlooked. It should not be fucking downplayed, especially if you're like so angry and commenting and like criticizing Nick Rekieta every day for like whistling the wrong way or, in Null's words, looking like a 50-year-old corpse. But again, it's just one of those things, man. It's I don't know why people give charitability to the toe. I don't get it. I've not heard a good comment either, or anybody try to address the simple point of why give Aaron charitability when he went into the crack den. He brought his kids into the crack den, and he witnessed this happen for days and did not do anything. Literally, if it wasn't wasn't for Rekeita getting caught, things would have just continued as usual, and Aaron would have been just part of it essentially. But again, I just think Aaron Imholte and Rekeita are pretty fucked up in general. Like, if we're going with this morality scale or whatever, they're pretty equal, right? Even if people want to do the deflect or defense that Aaron's kids didn't get caught with cocaine in their hair, and it's like, well, thank God for that. I mean, you guess he must have either scrubbed it out or they must have not been near it. But Aaron did bring his kids into the crack den, and that is a fact that you cannot refute. All right, it doesn't matter how much deflecting, how many weaselly outs you want to try to give the toe, does not change that fact. It does not change the fact that Aaron was perfectly fine with all of this shit happening, right? But I guess at least Aaron, he got the SpaghettiOs. He fed the kids once, right? That makes up for literally everything, I suppose. But anyway, that's all I have for this Truth Bomb, guys. Send a like if you appreciate it. Share it around. And I'll see you in the next one. And until then, remember, don't be a rebar.